so I have this little video here. I'm going to show you how to use the parametric equalizer a little more in depth. So we're just going to let it play real quick. This is the video.
Who's a good candidate for no prep veneers? Thank you for asking.
Just a dentist. All right, let's move on. Go to Effects panel. You're going to locate under Audio Effects, Filter, and EQ. There's a bunch of different ones in here. Some of these are presets, but I think you could do mostly everything with the parametric equalizer. The parametric EQ as well. Same thing. Grab it, drag it on your clip. Should automatically populate in this effects controls panel for you. Custom setup, you're gonna have to click edit to populate this little map that it's gonna show you. Now this is what it looks like. Looks a little confusing if you're not familiar with audio aspects, but basically each of these things here, these dots are nodes. Now each of these nodes control a frequency within the audio clip. So I'm just going to click one of these. Actually, before I click it, I'm going to play this video. Now you shouldn't see it populate. Normally you have to click on them first and then it'll populate here. So I'm playing the video now. Oh, it populated for us. That's perfect. If it doesn't populate, just touch the EQ node just a little bit.
Best way for us to let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers is actually seeing you in person and do a consultation.
Cool, so that's what it looks like there. Now each of these, if you didn't want to manually adjust it, because you could grab it, drag it down, whatnot. If you didn't want to manually do that, you could adjust it here. They each have their respective little module as well. So 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on, 5H. In addition, you could adjust the gain of each of these. So if you wanted this one lower, this normally cut out like the bass in your voice. So if there's a lot of bass in the voice, you could drop this down, and it's respectively lowering the decibels as well. That's controlling the gain. So if you wanted to get less bass in the voice, you could drop this down really as high as you want to. And if you wanted to bring this back up, you could bring it back up. For the most part, you don't want to get too contorted here, so let's play it.
Normally, if you need an orthodontic, if you have uncontrolled periodontal,
I think that's still pretty good. But you could really play with it. If you're in a real bassy area, I would recommend dropping that down. And you can choose how much you could cut out or whatnot. In addition to that, the main benefit of this is you could do, so much like the presets we saw earlier, there's something called a low cut. The low cut cuts out frequencies between 800 to 100 hertz, and it removes like the rumbles. So this is kind of more manually adjusting audio. Now, if you go to the audio panel where we were at last semester, there's a way to just decrease the audio. Now you could do that. That's more so a preset. If you wanted to be really tedious in what you're doing, you would do a low cut here, again, which is to remove the unwanted noise of frequencies between 800 to 100 hertz. Mostly just rumbles. You're going to get rid of a lot of rumble. You could do something like that right here. In addition to that, you could enhance the clarity a little bit. So if you wanted to boost like the mid-range area, this is where the vocals normally lie. If you wanted to boost the mid-range, you could probably raise it about 2 to 5 hertz, so for more like vocal presence. And if you remember, I'll go back over it. In the audio panel, there's the same thing. This is just doing it manually. Is there really a benefit to doing it manually? Yes, if you have a lot of adjusting in the voice. So if the voice is constantly changing, say she's going from room to room, there may be a good use case for this. For the most part, I find that you're able to get it to where you want inside of the audio panel itself. This is just, again, that extra step for that extra control over your original clip, if you will. Now, if you wanted to reduce some of the harshness, you would do what's called a height cut, and you would reduce around 6 to 10 if it's a little too sharp. You could also, again, do that in the audio panel, which is known as, I believe, clarity in the audio panel. What else here? I believe you could change this as well. So the shape of these you could change. This will give you some type of presets. We can lower this, we can raise it. For the most part, when people are in here, they usually raise the vocals a little bit in the places where it's weak. So like somewhere right here, they might do that.
Those should be addressed before we moving forward. If you have any questions, please send me a message or contact our office so that we can get you scheduled. Who's a good candidate?
There's literally no frequencies here on the right, so you could probably drop that down and it should be fine as well.
For no prep veneers. Thank you for asking. The best way for us to let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers is actually seeing you in person and do a consultation. Normally, if you need an orthodontic treatment, if you have uncontrolled periodontal.
Again, there's some more options here at the bottom. Let's do ultra quiet. Let's see what that sounds like.
Disease, those should be addressed before we moving forward. If you have any questions, please send me a message or contact our office so that we can get you scheduled.
I don't think that really made a difference. Let's go ahead and cut these levels way down and see what we notice here.
Who's a good candidate for no prep veneers? Thank you for asking. The best way for us.
So right here, we lost a lot of that bass in her voice, and it kind of sounds like she's on the phone right now.
To let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers is.
So play around with this, see if you would like to do it manually. It's really up to you. I find you do get a crisper audio when you do this manually because you can manually choose which frequencies to cut out. Again, if you don't want to deal with that, if that's a headache for you, there's presets here. Let's go for a heavy guitar.
Actually seeing you in person and do a consultation.
These ones I believe are more for like audio, music stuff, like these. But the generic high pass, let's try that one.
Normally, if you need an orthodontic treatment, if you have uncontrolled periodontal disease, those should be addressed before we move.
We can try the low pass.
Forward. If you have any questions, please send me a message or contact our office so that we can get you scheduled. Who's a good candidate?
Personally, on this one, I would say the high pass is probably the best option. I think it sounds better with these frequencies dropped off.
For no prep veneers. Thank you for asking. The best way for us to let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers is actually seeing you in person and do a consultation.
I think that's not bad. I would probably graph it something like this as well, just for fun time's sake. There's also a good option for the old time radio if you wanted a really specialized audio sample.
Normally, if you need an orthodontic treatment, if you have uncontrolled periodontal disease.
When would this ever be useful? If you're doing something like a statement from someone on the phone and you're doing like an investigation. They probably put a vocal enhancer of it on some sort to give it more authenticity. Will you ever use that? I don't know. So the vocal enhancer is probably going to be the best one most of the time. Again, these are presets.
Those should be addressed before we moving forward. If you have any questions, please send me a message or contact.
You guys probably can't hear it, but on this one, it sounds good. The only thing that's wrong with this is you have a high-pitched hiss. I believe that's to do with these frequencies over here. So we could probably drop that.
Our office so that we can get you scheduled. The best way for us to let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers is actually seeing you in person and.
Yeah, there's no hiss now. So if you're getting a weird hiss in your audio, dropping the H down will help it a lot. And then bass is usually on the left. Drop the bass or the L down to the left and it should cut out your basses. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it here. Yeah, again, you could adjust all of these from this little menu here, and it gives you the same as the presets. I'll show you what those presets are again in case you forgot. Again, if you wanted to save this, I believe you could save it or you might have to save it in a different module there. Cool, we're gonna go ahead and go to the audio panel now so I can show you what that looks like. And all you really need to know is high pass and low pass. I might give you some more information on the frequencies, but that's kind of more intricate. Not everyone really cares about that, but I'll map it out so it's pretty useful for you. So if you adjust these, it's basically going to control what we just pulled up. So you could adjust the clarity, of course, as we went through, make it more sharp, if you will, when you increase the clarity.
Do a consultation.
Really makes it very clear and punctual, but then again, you do get that robotic weird feeling. Same thing as like these, the S, DS, we'll often get time to get rid of those hissing noises. And then as well as that, the low cut, like we mentioned earlier, is what will reduce like the rumble. So by doing a low cut, you essentially decrease the rumble. In this respective, you would increase this because this is applying the filter. So if you wanted to decrease the rumble, you would raise this. And these are the presets I was talking about where you could EQ it and then you could do it from here. You also have the vocal enhancer. And then just to recap, there's also the vocal presence and then those same options we saw on the other panel. So cool, just a quick recap. Know how to use the parametric EQ. It might come in handy. I believe that just applied. So I think when you pull this up, it applies it over here as well. But know how to use this thing. Know that your basses are on the left. Your high-pitched noises usually are on the right. And if there's a hiss, it's way up here probably. You need to drop that down. And then most of the vocal presence is going to be right in the middle. Much like the histogram on your camera when you're shooting for exposure, you want it to be right in the middle, not too far to the left, not too far to the right, unless you're doing some very stylized edits here. But this should never lead you wrong. Like this should be fine.
Normally, if you need an orthodontic treatment, if you have uncontrolled pair.
So if you ever pull this up, just drop down the basses, drop down the highs over here, and you should be good to go. So hopefully that showed you a little more how to use this.
Who's a good candidate for no prep veneers? Thank you for asking. The best way for us to let our patient know whether you can be candidate for the no prep veneers